industry gathers in Los Angeles to present the Oscars. It's a magical evening filled with stars and surprises. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, 2 film critics gather for their own ceremony.
Dressed up and no place to go. No, they don't let Roger and me or any other critics vote for the Academy Awards. So we'll put on our own show, which we've called for years If We Pick the Oscars. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Here at Siskel and Ebert, we don't make Oscar predictions. We go one additional step. We don't say who will win. We say who should win, because we're the critics.
Right.
If we were the only 2 guys voting for the Oscars, this is who would win this year. We're going to talk about on this special show. And on this show, Gene and I have both marked our secret ballots. I have an envelope here with Gene's choice for each category, and Gene has my picks. Now, we don't know how the other guy is going to be voting until we open each other's envelopes. And so now, Gene,
yes,
let's start with the Best Actor category,
right,
and you can use those magic words. The nominees are.
Okay. On our show, we don't screw around. We don't make you wait until 1 in the morning. On our show, we start right away with the big categories. And the nominees for Best Actor are, and it's a very strong list this year, Dexter Gordon, a jazz saxophonist making his film debut as a jazz saxophonist, trying to flourish in Paris after America has rejected him in Round Midnight. Also nominated, Bob Hoskins, the tough little English actor who plays the chauffeur of a high-priced call girl in Mona Lisa.
For example,
and again nominated this year is last year's winner in this category, William Hurt, as an innovative teacher of the deaf in Children of the Lesser God. Paul Newman received his 7th acting nomination, the 2nd time now for playing the same character, pool hustler Fast Eddie Felsen in The Color of Money. And the final nominee, a real surprise, James Woods, playing a hyped-up journalist trying to find the truth about America's military role in Salvador. And Roger, as you said, you have my sealed ballot. This is my choice.
And it hasn't been guarded by anybody, right?
Not a single soul.
No, in fact, it was only sealed about 5 minutes before this show started.
With your armpit.
But I didn't know until, in fact, this is amazing. You're picking Bob Hoskins in Mona Lisa.
You bet I am.
I would not have predicted that.
Well, okay, I'm going to tell you why. This was a tough call for me because I admired every single one of the 5 performances this year, and I can't remember when that happened before. But I'm picking Bob Hoskins because, to me, although he shouts a lot, it's strangely one of the most subtle performances I've ever seen. He plays an ex-con assigned to chauffeur around London, a high-class call girl, and rather quickly they get into arguments. She wants him to dress better, but his idea of better is her idea of tacky, as in this scene where he's just bought a new leather jacket and fancy shirt. Now, what's so good about his performance here is he's driving and trying to have a conversation. I've seen more actors screw this scene up than any other kind of scene, because we never believe they're driving. I actually think he's driving, and I actually think he's having a conversation at the same time. Now, he pulls the car over here, and this is going to be a tough trick. Can he convince us that it is not just a theatrical scene, but that he would actually get out of the car just like he's doing and nail her and forget about the traffic? And can he so intimidate the traffic that comes up behind him? There's going to be a bus right behind them there, and are we focusing on that bus or whether he's going to get hit, or are we watching his mouth and going after her? He's smaller, he looks tougher, he wants to nail her and tell her a thing or two. He is upset as he slams the car door. The movie requires Hoskins to be hard as nails, but it also shows us his soft underbelly at the same time in later scenes, because he wants to protect this woman. And in the film's great climax, he has to go through some amazing emotional changes, downshift, and then really fall apart when he learns that this hooker has been using him all the time to find someone else whom she truly loves. This mixture of tough and caring, of sweet and sorrowful, is what makes me vote for Bob Hoskins.
I'm not going to pick Hoskins in this category, but it is a fabulous performance by a fabulous actor, and I also agree with what you said about the two sides to his character. Some of the great Hollywood actors,
yes.
Edward G. Robinson comes to mind,
yes.
could be really tough, and then you could sense that that toughness wasn't all that was there. There was a vulnerability underneath. There was a fear. There was a tenderness that was there somewhere, maybe left over from childhood, maybe left over from another lifetime, and that's what he gives you here, so that even when he's being tough, you care for him.
I've heard this said before. The great actors are always the man and the boy at the same time, and this is another example. He's the man there, but there's a little boy inside that's hurt.
Okay, why don't you look inside your coat and see if I voted for...
a man or a boy?
A man or a boy, yes.
Okay. Your vote that I have here, well, this is going to surprise a lot of people. Dexter Gordon, Round Midnight, the guy making his film debut.
Dexter Gordon making his film debut in his 60s, a great American jazz musician. This is his first acting performance, and it seems to me that the year's best performance should be one that touched me the most deeply and that seems likely to stay with me the longest, and that was true of Dexter Gordon's work in Around Midnight, or Around Midnight. He played an old and sick American jazz man who travels to Paris for one last hurrah and plays his heart out in a little jazz club. The movie was filmed like a blues song, filled with smoke, booze, and regrets, and for Gordon, it was the chance of a lifetime. Now, in a moment, we're going to hear Dexter Gordon's voice, and some of the critics of this film said they couldn't understand him or he mumbled. I don't think so. I think his voice is very musical, and it's musical in the same way that that saxophone is musical. His voice and his instrument have become, in a way, the same thing.
It's funny how the world is inside of nothing. I mean, you have your heart and your soul inside of you. Babies are inside of their mothers. Fish are out there in the water. But the world is inside nothing.
And there's such a poignancy there. You can tell in the film that this is a dying man, that this is his last little stab at happiness, his last stab at playing music, at being with people who love him, before he goes back into that self-destructive spiral that he was in at the beginning of the film. Of course, the argument against Gordon for this category is that he's not really an actor. They say he's only playing himself. Well, I don't know Dexter Gordon, so I don't know if that's true. But there's a heart and a soul in that character that really got into my imagination. There's more humanity there than in the other characters in this category, and that's why I'm voting for Dexter Gordon.
Yeah, I don't think it should be taken away from him, the fact that maybe he is playing himself. Because I think if he were just photographed as himself, that might be interesting. Maybe it wouldn't be. This thing works on camera. So I considered it, and I said that this is one of the best performances. I came close to picking him. If he'd been nominated, I would have thrown in Jeff Goldblum from The Fly. I mean, I look at them all straight like you. What is amazing to me is that he doesn't show his amateurishness. In other words, that's an argument that it was a great performance.
And he was a very sick man when he made this film. We know that. He had to shut down shooting for a couple of weeks because he was so ill. But the sickness is important, too, because in a way, the director, Bertrand Tavernier, got that on film, too. The man sickness and the character sickness are much the same. There was a weakness there, yet there was a strength and there was a determination. And occasionally in movie history, you will find the perfect match.
Yes.
Even beyond casting. It's just the perfect match. For example, John Wayne in True Grit. And I think Dexter Gordon in this picture, the perfect match between actor and character.
He's played his whole life preparing for this role.
Next category. And our next category is Best Supporting Actress. And the nominees are Tess Harper is the nosy relative who lives next door to three tempestuous sisters in Crimes of the Heart.
And your trashy way.
Piper Laurie is the troubled mother of a deaf girl in Children of a Lesser God. She wonders if she loved her child enough when she was young.
It was wonderful for her.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, the girlfriend of a young pool hustler in The Color of Money. She stands between the two warring men.
From the robbery.
Maggie Smith as a British spinster aunt and chaperone in A Room with a View. She kind of represents the British class system, the system that her young ward is going to have to challenge.
Siskel, give me that something.
And Dianne Wiest as a woman who is single and wants to be married in Hannah and Her Sisters.
I hope so, for your sake.
Yeah.
And those are the nominees, and right here I have Jean's secret ballot. And let's see who you voted for Best Supporting Actress. You voted for Dianne Wiest, Hannah and Her Sisters.
You got it. My vote does go to a jewel-like performance by Dianne Wiest as a confused New York woman, a bit of a dope addict who wants to be an actress but works at other jobs, including catering. And as bummed out as she is about her career, she also is having little luck with men. Now, this could have been a silly role. After all, it is a Woody Allen movie, Hannah and Her Sisters, and we could have just laughed at her. But Wiest so often seems on the verge of crying beneath her squinting eyes. She thus represents a lot of people on the run, afraid of everything, afraid of stopping and really considering their lives. In this scene, Dianne Wiest asks her older, more stable sister, Mia Farrow, for money to start up her latest attempt at a career.
How much do you need?
$2,000.
I know it's a lot, but my friend April and I, we have this catering idea I think is going to be great.
You admit that we're great cooks, right?
Yeah.
Well, in order to get started, there's just a few things I have to buy and some old debts I have outstanding.
You just tell me one thing. Are we talking about cocaine again?
I swear. We've already got some requests to do a few dinner parties. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be a caterer forever, you know. We both still go on auditions. Something could come up at any moment, but the parties are at night, my days are free, I can still take my acting class. I haven't done drugs in a year.
Now, that's kind of a funny line at the end, but what precedes it is deadly serious. This woman is in pain, and her sister can see it. I like characters who represent a lot of people, and I suspect that Dianne Wiest's character in this movie, Hannah and Her Sisters, is a bit like Jessica Lange's character in Tootsie, one of those women who is very good-natured, but has been burned so many times in work and in relationships that she is a character in genuine trouble that we can identify with. This is a character who people will remember, I think, for a long time, thanks to the talent of Dianne Wiest. It's not a silly role.
She is a talented actress, but unfortunately, I think in this movie, she gets the Dianne Wiest role, if you know what I mean. She is always playing mopey people who seem to be on the verge of a crack-up, on the verge of tears.
You're thinking of that because of Radio Days, which just came out, and she plays another character.
And I could also probably get out her filmography and show you 3 or 4 other times she's played exactly the same character. I think Woody Allen would have been wise in this movie to surprise us a little bit, make a switch, you know, and let her play one of the stronger people, one of the happier people for a change.
Well, but didn't she move you as this character, or were you just...
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She did move me, but I didn't see her doing anything that was absolutely original, and so I didn't vote for her. You got that figured out, right?
All right, let's see who you voted for. Let's see. You think this is better than Dianne Wiest?
Not criticizing her performance. I'm just saying...
You're criticizing the casting of her.
Okay, fine. I'm telling you that this is what I'm saying.
Okay. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio for The Color of Money.
Yes, and if she wins the Oscar this year, you will find out how to pronounce her name. It's Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
Okay, I
does not rhyme with San Antonio. Okay. Well, sort of does. The thing I like best about her performance is that it was the most original one in the entire movie, The Color of Money. She was flanked by a couple of high-powered actors, but they weren't doing anything new. Paul Newman was repeating as Fast Eddie Felson, the pool huster he's played before, and Tom Cruise was playing a basically very standard role, the young kid who learns from an old man and then tries to stand on his own 2 feet. Now, both of the roles were predictable, even though those are good actors. What was not predictable in this movie was the fire and the energy that came from Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. She was the wild card in scene after scene, and even with those 2 powerhouses on the screen, she was often the one we looked at because we didn't know what move she was going to make. We could guess more or less what the guys were going to do, but what would she do? Now, here was a movie that needed a sense of danger. When Mastrantonio was on the screen, it got it.
What's your problem?
No problem. Did I say I have a problem? There's no problem.
I'm glad to hear it.
Just to know where you went. You know, I was looking for you.
I'm going to sit down now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I might go to the bathroom again in about a half hour. Is that okay?
That's great, Carmen.
Yeah, I'll be sure and tell you when, though, okay?
Now, you can see there one of the things that makes that relationship the most interesting relationship in the movie, and that is how strong she is and how she pushes this guy around. And, of course, the whole fulcrum of the movie is Tom Cruise's fear that he's going to lose her. He would do anything to keep her respect and to keep her. He's proud that he has a girl like that. She's been around a lot. This kid is younger than she is. She knows exactly where she stands, and that's a good scene.
Roger, the way you talked about this movie is almost the basis on which I disqualified her from voting. You say that she is the most interesting character in the movie.
Yes, she is.
And she probably is the most interesting character in the movie. And I think she belongs in the lead actress category.
Okay.
So I am penalizing her because I don't want to hurt her. But I want to teach the Academy a lesson because I hate this. I just hate it when they nominate. It's a gimmick done by the studios. They put the people that are less well-known in the supporting category because they know they have a better chance of being nominated rather than going against the likes of Jane Fonda or Kathleen Turner.
Oh, yeah,
but I want to just say this. She does good work, but I am not voting for her because, one, I enjoyed Dianne Wiest's performance better, but two, she doesn't belong.
Okay, well, then your first reason is better, the fact that you like Dianne Wiest's performance better, because what you're doing here is you're talking about Academy technicalities instead of the performance.
Okay.
This is a wonderful performance. I looked at the list. She's nominated in this category.
Okay.
You asked me who I'd vote for. I'd vote for her.
Okay, but I'm telling
then maybe if I got on some Academy committee or something, I'd work for reforms.
Don't you agree that she belongs in the lead category?
Yes, she belongs in the lead category.
Okay.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
As supporting actress nominees go, she is the best this year.
She is the biggest part this year. The best one is Dianne Wiest.
Well, in that case,
we
why don't
disagree.
we just move right along?
Okay, coming up next, our votes for the best actress of the year.
The nominees for the best performance by an actress in a leading role are Jane Fonda in The Morning After, Marlee Matlin in Children of a Lesser God,
Simple.
The night?
Sissy Spacek in Crimes of the Heart,
Would you like a coat instead? Oh,
Sigourney Weaver in Aliens,
Emergency.
Kathleen Turner in Peggy Sue Got Married.
Okay, those are the nominees. Now let's see who Gene would vote for if he were one of the only two people voting for the Oscars. Wouldn't that be great? Certainly be great for Kathleen Turner. That's who you would vote for.
Exactly. My pick is Kathleen Turner from Peggy Sue Got Married, who played a 43-year-old woman transported back 25 years in time to her high school senior year, where she meets her family and the boyfriend she will marry and have a troubled relationship with. And I really considered only Marlee Matlin from Children of the Lesser God as another possible choice in this category. Those two performances are the head of this year's class by far. My choice of Turner, however, is based on her ability to simply use her body and whatever inner magic great actors all possess, and it's a magic I don't claim to know, to convince us that even though Kathleen Turner in reality is 34 years old, that she convincingly passes for a teenager in this movie. I think she does it with girlish enthusiasm, especially in this scene where she has her first breakfast with her parents, because she's beginning now to realize what a special opportunity she has going back in time.
You know, Mom and Dad, you are the best parents a girl could ever have. I'm really going to try and behave myself.
Okay, now let's take a look. She is helped, obviously, by the costumes. And she is obviously helped by the longer lighting that you're going to see in this long shot coming up there. It's softest light, it's quaint, Norman Rockwell-ish. But at the same time, look how her head is moving around. She's got the girlish, that little look, just like the little sister, head moving around, same quickness of a younger body. And that's why she works as a teenager. Now she's getting up, she hears the horn from her boyfriend, and at this point you see that full body, and that makes a lot of sense, because now she's recognizing, my God, this is the guy that I'm going to marry, and she becomes an adult again. There's an absolute transformation there as she suddenly gets older and becomes 34. Just in that mercurial way, she's so exciting. Turner behaved as someone dazzled and disoriented in this film, as she should be, and it made her preposterous situation, time travel, absolutely believable.
So you think she should be the best actress this year?
You got it.
Open the envelope.
I mean, your choice.
Yes, that's right. My choice, if I were voting.
Okay. Oh, you're getting to be so smart on this show. Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner, that's my choice, too. What Kathleen Turner accomplishes in Peggy Sue Got Married is sort of amazing. I agree with Gene. She plays, as you said, the same woman at the age of 43 and at the age of 18, and she doesn't do it with a lot of makeup and trick photography. In fact, some people even said, well, she doesn't really look 18. Well, so what? She does it because she plays 18. She plays it from inside with her voice, with the way she moves around and carries herself, and her body language. It's almost like she wills herself to be 25 years younger. Here's a scene from the movie where she's inside her 18-year-old body when she gets a very emotional telephone call. Okay, now she's 18. She's in her 18-year-old body, helping her mother in the kitchen. That's Barbara Harris as the mother. The phone rings. Now look at this, because she's 18 when she goes to pick up the phone. And in the silhouette shot, she turns to 43.
This is Grandma.
Grandma?
How's my little girl been? Grandpa.
It's her grandma, and look at that body language. Suddenly, she realizes she's heard the voice of a woman whose voice she has not heard for more than 20 years. It's a fabulous scene. There, Barbara Harris tries to deal with a problem there as she goes off screen. You could see in that body language that emotion of hearing a voice of a dead loved one. And now she goes upstairs. Now look at this first close-up of her when they come in on the stairs, and she looks 43 again. Look at that. That's a 43-year-old woman who's heard her dead grandmother's voice. And now, the next time we see her, she's a little bit back in character again, see? How does she do that? She's 18 again. Between one close-up and the other, just by softening her face, it must have been, she turns from 18, and there, look, see?
Back to 43.
Look at that, look at that. Look at that, because she's torn between those two ages. That is a fabulous scene, because the emotion has to go back and forth inside her head. She has to think, this is my grandmother, which is 43-year-old, and then this is my mother, and it's now, so I'm 18. Wonderful the way that scene plays.
Well, again,
Wonderful.
it's a mystery. Critics don't talk enough about acting in their reviews because, frankly, we don't know how they do it. And this is one of the great performances. She did similar kinds of turns in Romancing the Stone, a light film, too, as this was as well. And she didn't get enough credit there. This woman deserves
Now, this movie
an
was
Oscar.
directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Now, we noticed the two close-ups there on the stairs over Barbara Harris's shoulder.
Right.
Did you agree with me? She looked like a different person?
Yes.
Was it lit different?
No.
No? Was the makeup different?
No.
No? How did she do it? Wouldn't you like to know? That's why I'm going to vote for her this year.
When we come back, we'll make our choices for the year's Best Original Song.
The nominees for the Best Original Song are Glory of Love from Karate Kid 2, Life in a Looking Glass from That's Life.
If you look at your life in a looking glass, you may see some things you don't want to see. You may see the day your youth slipped away, and you'll say, hey, that just can't be me.
Mean Green Mother from Outer Space from Little Shop of Horrors.
And now I'm just a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm saying, mean green mother from outer space, and it looks like you've been had.
Somewhere Out There from An American Tale. Take My Breath Away from Top Gun.
Yes, those are the nominees. Let's see who Roger voted for. Best song. Glory of Love from Karate Kid 2.
And I'm glad that you have my ballot there, Gene, because that reminds me of the song that I voted for. And if you had asked me right before you opened the envelope which one I voted for, I would not have been able to answer because the songs were all so forgettable this year. I didn't really feel a lot of passion over any of the songs I was marking my ballot. None of the songs are really terrific, and they're all very forgettable, and I almost just went ahead and voted for Mean Green Mother from Outer Space, kind of as a nihilistic protest against the lousy quality of all of these clone songs. But I like that one that I voted for.
Karate Kid 2.
That's the
Glory
one.
of Love.
I liked it the best, I guess. So that's my vote, and there you have it. A strong, passionate defense.
Okay.
Now, see, can't believe that. Oh,
let's see look what's in there.
No choice.
You got it, big boy.
Gene is not voting in this category this year. Okay, way to go.
That is right, Roger. There is nothing in my envelope, at least nothing written in my envelope. This is the first time I have ever done this on the show. See, I thought you on this one. Because I listened to every one of those songs, and I was bored silly by each and every one. The music branch of the Academy has made some bonehead picks over the years, like the time. This is amazing. The time they failed to nominate any of the songs from Saturday Night Fever, picking the theme song from The Slipper and the Rose instead. Now, if anyone listening to me, except the people who wrote that song, can hum the tune, the theme song from The Slipper and the Rose.
The Slipper and the Rose.
You're probably right, you know,
Yeah.
but that's probably how they did it. You get my vote as trivia expert of the millennium. So no vote for me, just a pair of golden Q-tips for every member of the Academy's music branch.
Now,
These people are out of touch.
I think they get together and vote for each other every year, I think, and just vote for friends, or it's just politics. It must be. Yeah, how can they be good enough to be in the Academy and have such bad taste as to vote for such terrible songs?
Right.
Or, in the case of these songs, to write them. Now, later on in the show, we're going to have special awards for the least deserving nominees of this year's Academy Awards. Right. Maybe we should have a special golden Q-tip category for the songs and give that out right now.
You know, it's amazing. They could have nominated some of the songs from Round Midnight. They did nominate that for a score.
That's right.
And that's a good choice, a good nomination. But they should have picked one of those songs, maybe one written by Herbie Hancock for Best Song, in one individual song.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock is a jazz musician. He's not part of the crowd out there.
And they wouldn't
Herbie, you got to start going to more of those Bel Air cocktail parties. Come on, guy.
Coming up next, our choices for Best Supporting Actor.
The nominees for the best performance by an actor in a supporting role are Tom Berenger in Platoon.
You don't sleep on no...
Michael Caine in Hannah and Her Sisters. Willem Dafoe in Platoon. Denholm Elliott in A Room with a View. Dennis Hopper in Hoosiers.
This is the last shot that we got.
Okay, those are the nominees, and now let's see who Gene would vote for if he and I were the only two people voting for this year's Oscars. The winner, according to you, would be Michael Caine for Best Supporting Actor.
My pick is Michael Caine and Hannah and Her Sisters. It's a great script, to be sure, but Michael Caine, I think, even improves upon the script. He's both funny and sad in his desperate race between his wife, who is so perfect she's boring to him, and his wife's younger sister, played by Barbara Hershey, who's sexier and unformed and more carefree and therefore a little bit more exciting and unknown to him. In this scene, Caine proves just how good an actor he is because he acts with his back to the camera, having just kissed Barbara Hershey. Now he's going to try to find out if she likes him without admitting to her that he's crazy about her. You can feel him vibrating with excitement and lies.
But how about you? Do you share any of my feelings, or is this just an unpleasant embarrassment to you?
I can't say anything.
Well, please be candid. I don't want you to feel bad.
Yes, but I have certain feelings for you, but don't make me say anything more, all right?
Okay. You said enough. It's my responsibility now. I will work things out.
Look, don't do anything on my behalf. I live with Frederick, and Hannah and I are close.
Yes, but you do care about me.
Oh, Elliot, please, I can't be a party to this. I'm suddenly racked with guilt just standing here talking to you on the street.
Your guilt is because you feel the same.
Oh, please, I have to go. I have to get my teeth cleaned.
I have my answer. I have my answer. I'm walking on air.
That final shot, I have my answer, I'm walking on air, is so rich and genuine, it dances off the screen. Caine's predicament is amusing at times in the film, but he never really plays his character for laughs. That's the key. He's playing a bright guy, wise about everything but love. It's a superior performance. And Roger, just that ability to be like this, off camera, I mean, it's remarkable. You don't need to see his face to know what he's going through.
As I was looking at this scene right now, I was reminded of natural movie actors like Jimmy Cagney, and I think Michael Caine is in that category. His performances are like running water. They're like fresh air. Yeah. He is absolutely natural and convincing in every role he's been in. He can be tough, he can be funny, he can be light, he can be heavy, and he's always good.
Okay.
But, see who I voted for. Well, sounds like I must have voted for Michael Caine, right?
I hope you did. Oh, no, you didn't. No. You have one of those rare things, a tie. Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe, the bad and good sergeant in Platoon.
Yeah, and of course, that's probably cheating, but that was the only way I could mark my ballot. You can flip a coin to decide whether Dafoe or Berenger should win in this category. And I know that's not possible because nobody ever ties for an Academy Award except for Katharine Hepburn and Barbra Streisand, and they're not nominated this year. But here is my reasoning. Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe clearly gave the best two performances in this category this year. The performances depend on each other. Each actor and each character gets strength and anger, and even some of his identity from the tension that exists between those two very opposite human beings. You cannot think of one without the other. So I'd mark my ballot for both Berenger and Dafoe, and then it would be disqualified, but so what? I'd be right. First, let's look at a scene focused on Berenger, a human fighting machine whose face is scarred, and somehow maybe his soul is too.
Huh? Y'all experts. Y'all know about killing?
Well, I'd like to hear about it, potheads.
Is you supposed to escape from reality?
I am reality.
And now here's the other actor. Willem Dafoe was a thoughtful platoon leader who has many doubts about the Vietnam War.
You believe?
65. Yeah. Now. No. What happened today is just the beginning. We're gonna lose this war.
Come on. You really think so? Us?
We've been kicking other people's asses for so long, I figure it's time we got ours kicked.
Of course, another performance in this movie by Charlie Sheen was also very important, and in a way, Dafoe and Berenger are fighting for his soul. They represent two sides of the conflict in Vietnam. The idea that it's simply a war, the idea that it's more than a war, or less than a war. Those were two great performances, and so just to point that out, I think if either one were the only nominee in this category, either Berenger or Dafoe would win it. I think they'll probably cancel themselves out on Oscar night, so when they watch this show, they can feel like they got a very, very, very small consolation prize.
From you?
Yes.
I believe that of the two performances, I prefer Dafoe's performance. I think it's a bit more subtle. I don't think that we even need the scars on Berenger's face to make him good. That's my opinion. Let me just finish. I mean, if he's really scarred, we can say this. Beyond that, I'm going to say something you're going to like even less. I believe that the performances are made by the movie, by the very situation of the movie. Everyone looks good in this movie. This is a terrific movie. We feel sad about everyone, and I believe
that's a totally specious argument. Everybody looks good in Hannah and Her Sisters, too. The movie makes the actors make the movie. It goes back and forth. It's both sides of the same coin. You could have had bad performances in this movie, then you couldn't have made that statement. They have to be good. And he must be scarred because part of his mystique among his men is the number of times that he's been shot up and never been killed to the point where he's a legend. He can't be killed.
Well, the point is, I think that the scarring, when I saw that, I thought, gee, that's a little bit too obvious symbolism. Maybe one scar would have been enough. Beyond that, I think Michael Caine does more of something that is original, harder to play, an average guy, rather than someone in this extreme situation where we have natural empathy for them.
I think sometimes when you're being hit by shrapnel, you can't ask the shrapnel to give you just as many scars as the film critic thinks you should have.
Okay, well, that's their problem.
When we come back, our choice for the big one, Best Picture of the Year, and coming up later in the show, our choices for the year's 2 worst nominations.
The nominees for the Best Picture of the Year are Children of a Lesser God.
Hold it. Come on. Wait, like I can't. I didn't even talk to her.
Hannah and Her Sisters.
I don't know if you remember me, but we had the worst night of my life together.
I remember you.
Yes, you do recall,
I
right?
recall you.
The Mission. Platoon. A Room with a View.
No.
Lucy.
No, I will not listen to one more word.
My dears, do stop.
Haven't you done enough? Don't interfere again.
And those are the 5 nominees for good movies and The Mission.
Oh, tipping your hand maybe.
Didn't like that one. Okay, your vote for Best Movie of the Year, Hannah and Her Sisters.
You got it. I picked it as Best Picture of the Year in December. I see no reason to change now. Of course, Platoon is a great film. And comparing these 2 pictures is a little bit ridiculous. That has to do with the whole nature of competition in movies, and I agree it is silly. But if I had to vote, and if I were the only one picking, I would vote for Hannah and Her Sisters because I so admire the way it captures, if you will, the everyday wars so many of us fight at home with lovers and siblings and work and illness. I saw so many moods that I've been in this picture. I've seen moods that other people have been in, that I view this film almost as a documentary of the upper middle class life today. The film isn't always heavy, however. Woody Allen lightens the load with scenes like this one where he visits his former wife, Mia Farrow, and their 2 children.
Happy birthday, fellas. Happy birthday. You know, a little hug. What is this? How about a little action from the kids? How is everything?
Everything's good. Everything's fine.
Yeah, okay, kids, you can open the presents now. Let me get a little reaction here. How's Elliot?
He's fine. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to convince him to produce a play. I think he'll really find that satisfying. I think so.
I like him. I think he's a sweet guy. The few times that I've met him. Isn't that a great Mitt? Because he's a loser. He's awkward and he's clumsy like me. So I like that. I always like an underconfident person. You know?
He's been wanting a Mitt.
You've always had good taste in husbands. So.
Thanks. That's a beauty.
Isn't that great? Go out over there. Come on, hurry up. Let's go. Go out by the sun vase and catch this. See?
Now, that's a funny bit with the football in the vase. But what goes on before, a professional man, remember he's a television producer doing a show like Saturday Night Live. He is a professional man with only 2 minutes to spare for his children. Now, that's not funny at all. So for all of its range of emotion, for its humor in spite of pain, I vote of Hannah and Her Sisters as Best Picture. I just saw it again, Roger. You know, it came out a year ago. It's at a disadvantage in our memories, I think, for most of us. I saw it again just to check myself and see how good it was. And I saw it differently as a film of great pain, this time more than just a comedy.
Well, I think it's a great movie. And when I made my list of the 10 best movies of 1986, I put it second on the list. So that's how good I thought it was. Why don't you open the envelope?
Well, then I think
and you'll be able to figure out what I put first.
Of course, Platoon.
That's right. Platoon is my choice for the best film of last year, and so, of course, it's my choice for the Academy Award, much as I like Hannah and her sisters. And I voted for this movie for two reasons. First, it's very good, very strong, very effective. It takes us right into the middle of a battlefield, and it stays there right on top, watching everything from the point of view of combat infantry soldiers. Second reason, the movie speaks to the mood of the nation. I think we're in the right state of mind right now to look back and think about Vietnam, not try to romanticize it or turn it into symbols or fantasies, but simply to ask ourselves what went on there, what kind of experiences Americans had in that war. This is a movie that plays with the same spirit that people go to look at the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. Platoon answers that hunger. Here's one of the most heartbreaking scenes. And there, of course, the music makes that into an elegy, even though what we see in the background is very violent. One of the strange things about Platoon that indicates to me why it's such a great film is that despite the fact that this movie is so powerful, so intense, and so violent, it is oddly enough not controversial. I get a lot of magazines from the National Review to the New Republic. I read all of the columns on the editorial page. Neither the left wing nor the right wing has much of a problem with this movie because it's right down the middle based on experience rather than based on opinion. It's not about right and wrong. It's about what happened and how it felt.
And, of course, in that scene, I think one of the things it does is explain the whole mystery of My Lai. We all sat back and said, how could American soldiers and American boys do such a horrible thing? Here you see the soldier's story, and you can understand that in war, awful things go on.
That's right.
It's a simple truth. It brings it home beautifully. It's a great film.
So if you look at these two films, and a lot of the other films nominated this year, it was a pretty good year for movies.
Yes.
You get Hannah and her sisters in Platoon in the same year.
In one case, you have the war far afield, and the other one, you have the domestic wars at home.
War at home. When we come back, the category that in some ways is our favorite, Gene and I will each choose the year's worst and least deserved nomination.
Now we come to our final category, one that is not on the official Oscar ballot, one that we made up years ago, and that is the worst nomination of the year, the least deserving nomination. And I've got Roger's choice right here. Even if you don't agree with me, I just want to see you nail somebody.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, this is a good choice, Roger. Betty Blue for Best Foreign Language Film from France.
That's right. That is the worst nomination of this year. Betty Blue was the new film by Jean-Jacques Benex, whose first film, Diva, came out in 1982 and was absolutely a brilliant film. Betty Blue was simply self-indulgent nonsense about a man who is sexually obsessed with a woman who goes insane while he stands there and lets her abuse him. It's a shapeless, formless film. Let's look at a scene of the torture he endures, and when we come back, I'm going to give you the real reason why this is the year's worst nomination.
Une femme de ménage comme ça, j'en voudrais pas chez moi, hein?
Ah, ça, je vous la conseille pas, oui.
Oh, ben, en effet, parce que disons...
Ah, je crois que c'est bientôt fini, là.
Now, Betty Blue was not a good film, but that in itself is not a sufficient reason to pick it as the year's worst nomination. It's a good reason, though, but not a great reason. There is another reason. You see, each country picks its own Oscar nominees, and then a Hollywood committee picks the final 5. That means Betty Blue was chosen in the first place by a French committee, and they should be ashamed of themselves because in order to pick Betty Blue, they had to pass over and reject Vagabond.
You're right.
Agnes Varda's film about the last days in the life of a young girl who becomes a hitchhiker and then a tramp and then dies in a ditch. Vagabond, without any doubt, was the best foreign language film seen in America last year.
Right.
And so Betty Blue doesn't deserve to be the French nominee, let alone an Academy nominee.
It's shocking. That whole category, I think it has to do with the establishment. They probably don't like Agnes Varda, and they wanted to, for some reason, promote this young director. I have no idea. It
Young director and his expensive film made by a big studio, right.
Okay, see, there's politics involved in this foreign language category, and it's a terrible example. That was, I think, number 3 on my best films of the year.
They want to make the foreign countries happy because people overseas see a lot of Hollywood movies and send money back, but letting France decide what the best French film was would be like letting MGM or Warner Brothers choose their nominees in the best film category.
That's a good point. Okay, now, as bad as your choice was, I think mine is worse.
Well, I will see. Let's see. The least deserving nomination, according to Gene Siskel, is The Mission.
Yes, because mine is now the worst English language film. My worst nomination is in the biggest category of them all, Best Picture. I simply didn't think, and I guess Roger agreed because you said it earlier on the show, I think that The Mission wasn't a very good film. Well-intentioned, to be sure, telling the story of exploited South American Indians in the 18th century. But as a movie, it was boring and obvious, relying on beauty shots to carry it past some embarrassing scenes. Like this one, where slave trader Robert De Niro shows that he's a tough guy after he discovers his girlfriend in bed with his brother. This is not De Niro at his best. This is De Niro overacting and not appearing convincing in character.
You left. I didn't laugh, my friend. Most certainly you laughed. Rodrigo, please.
At home you laugh.
Rodrigo, don't do
At
this.
home you laugh. Rodrigo! Forward, please!
That sword fight pose really kills me. Now, Robert De Niro has often been America's finest actor. I've given him one great review after another, but he's undone by a period drama in which I did not believe the overwritten lines he has to say or the costumes he has to wear. There were so many better films this year than The Mission, Round Midnight, Something Wild, Sid and Nancy, even more escapist pictures like The Fly, Down and Out in Beverly Hills. I could name more till we went off the air. This is just a case of Hollywood voting for a noble cause rather than for a film that commands your attention.
I'm in complete agreement with you. This was supposed to be a movie about a battle between the state and the church, and the problem is that, especially in the crucial ending sequences, it was really so confusingly edited that at times we didn't even know what was happening, let alone what we thought about it.
And they so emphasized the scenery, I think, because I don't think that they had much of a story to tell.
I think you're right. We'll be back in a moment with more of our Oscar special.
Not much time left. Roger, you're going to watch the show just like I am. Is there one nomination that would knock you out that you might actually yell hooray when you heard it come across the screen?
Well, if Dexter Gordon won for Best Actor, that would be a very emotional moment. If Marlee Matlin won for Best Actress, that would be emotional. But I think probably Oliver Stone, who wrote and directed Platoon, because that was a movie that he was trying to make for 10 years, and the fact that it was nominated is such a vindication for his personal mission.
And the person that I would like to see, where I will go a little crazy, is if Bob Hoskins upsets the favorite Paul Newman for Best Actor, because this guy has labored so long and done so well, this fine English actor. If Bob Hoskins wins, I will be yelling.
Okay, I'll be listening for you. So much for our votes. We'll be watching along with you when the 4,300 real voters make up their minds on the Academy Award telecast. And until then, the envelopes are sealed.
Raisinets and Goobers are playing everywhere, starring plump, juicy raisins and great golden peanuts. Both now feature creamy Nestle milk chocolate. Olive oil from Spain makes chicken, seafood, and vegetables taste fantastic and has no cholesterol. What a healthy idea. Olive oil from Spain. Travel arranged by Travel Savers, the nation's leading chain of independent travel agencies. Check the yellow pages for the Travel Savers agency nearest you. The VCR Bible just got bigger. Roger Ebert's Movie Home Companion, now with over 600 full-length reviews of movies on cassette, is available at